I'm Ethan Miller, just your average corporate drone, stuck with this ridiculous passive ability. Get drunk, black out, and become a god. The only problem? I never remember a thing when I wake up. From fixing a crash server to foiling a corporate shark, everyone at work thinks I'm some kind of hidden genius, just playing dumb. Facing my stunning CEO's admiring gaze and my rival's terrified expressions, all I want to do is clutch my reusable coffee cup and scream, I'm really just a normal guy. Please, for the love of God, stop getting me drunk. Ethan Miller, is this your proposal? Garbage. Is your brain made of the same stuff? Mr. Henderson's finger was practically in my face, his spittle flying like a burst fire hydrant. I hunched my shoulders, not daring to utter a sound. The office was so quiet I could hear the hum of the fluorescent lights. Dozens of eyes, like searchlights, swept over me. Some sympathetic, some gleeful, but most just numb. At Vanguard Innovations, a small-time tech company, getting yelled at was a daily routine, and I was practically the resident punching bag. You have one day to redo it. If you can't, you and this garbage proposal can hit the road. Mr. Henderson slammed the stack of papers onto my desk, scattering them like confetti, then turned on his heel, beer belly leading the way, and stormed off. I crouched down, picking up my garbage sheet by sheet. Hey man, don't take it to heart. Old Henderson probably got grilled by his wife again and is just blowing off steam. Alex Stone, from the cubicle next to mine, leaned over, lowering his voice to comfort me. I forced a wry smile and said nothing. Alex was my college buddy. We joined this company together right after graduation, thick as thieves. He's a good guy, but his head's a bit in the clouds, always dreaming of sudden windfall or latching onto some big shot to skyrocket to success. This dead-end company, it's so draining, I said, straightening the papers and brushing off a few faint shoe prints. Overtime, every day, no raise in sight. But everyone's a pro at passing the buck. Tell me about it. Alex sighed. Come on, Ethan, my treat tonight. Let's grab a few drinks, drown our sorrows. I wanted to refuse. The proposal still wasn't done. But seeing that pile of ruined papers on my desk, a surge of nameless anger shot straight to my head. You're on, till we drop. 7 o'clock that evening, a noisy grill joint downtown. Plastic chairs, sticky tables. It was our late-night sanctuary. Beer, ice-cold and cheap, went down glass after glass. The day's pent-up frustration finally found an outlet. I started ranting about all the company's absurdities, from the attendance policy to project management, especially that sieve of a server architecture. You have no idea. Alex, our company's server is a total joke. The firewall's like tissue paper. Any amateur hacker could waltz right in. I mentioned it to Henderson last time, but he just told me to mind my own business, said it worked fine. I'm telling you, that junk, if I wanted to hack it, it wouldn't even take half an hour. I could bring it down in minutes. Data wiped. And he wouldn't even have time to cry. As I spoke, I waved my chopsticks around like I was some strategic genius masterminding a world domination plan. Alex kept pouring me more beer, his eyes shining with admiration. Ethan, I knew you were brilliant. You're a hidden gem. Come on, one more round. 3 rounds in, my tongue started to tie itself in knots, and Alex in front of me seemed to double. My last memory was him slurring, Ethan, don't worry, your talent will shine eventually. The rest was lost to the haze. I woke up the next morning to my phone's relentless, life or death ringing. My head felt like it was going to explode. The hangover was brutal. I fumbled for my phone, answered without looking. Ethan Miller, where the hell are you? The whole company's looking for you. Alex's frantic voice, distorted and high-pitched, blasted through the speaker. Looking for me? What happened? The sky fall. I mumbled, still half asleep. It practically did. The company servers were hacked last night, totally crashed. All our data is locked down. I shot up instantly, half sober. What? Hacked? Tell me about it. The tech department worked all night, did jack squat. Now, the whole company's in a panic, clients are blowing up our phones, and Henderson's practically in tears. Alex sounded like the apocalypse was nigh. My heart sank. The boast from the bar last night echoed in my ears. No way it could be that coincidental, right? Get to the office now. There's only one person in the entire company who can save us. Alex's tone suddenly turned incredibly grave. Who? Did we call in an outside expert? I asked instinctively. You, Ethan. I nearly dropped the phone. Are you crazy? I'm in marketing. What the hell do I know about tech? Ethan, cut the act. Last night you told me yourself that server was a joke. You definitely have a solution. I was utterly bewildered. That was drunk talk. He actually believed me? That was just drunken rambling, not meant to be taken seriously. I tried to explain. I don't care. Right now, everyone in the company, including our enigmatic CEO, Sarah Chun, is pinning all their hopes on you. Get over here, fast. Before I could say anything else, Alex hung up. I sat on the bed, stunned, feeling like the whole world had gone insane. Gritting my teeth, I showered, got dressed, and hailed a cab to the office. All the way there, my stomach was doing flip-flops. I was toast. I'd talked a big game, and now I'd be publicly humiliated in front of everyone. I might as well pack my desk and quit. As the taxi pulled up to the office building, I saw Alex standing by the entrance like a sentinel. The moment he saw me, he rushed over, grabbed my arm, and exclaimed excitedly, "Ethan, you're finally here. Quick, Ms. Chun is waiting for you in the top-floor conference room." Waiting for me? Ms. Chun. I panicked even more. Sarah Chun, the founder and CEO of Vanguard Innovations. A legendary woman, rumored to have graduated from a prestigious university abroad at a young age, then returned home to start this company from scratch. But she rarely made appearances. Daily company affairs were handled by Mr. Henderson and the other VPs. To us lower-level employees, she was like a name on a corporate brochure. Now, that legend wanted to see me? Alex, tell me honestly, did you say something crazy to them? I grabbed him, making a last-ditch effort. Alex gave me an "I know what I'm doing" look, patting my shoulder. Ethan, it's too late to hide it now. I've already spread the word about your skills. Don't worry, this is your big break. Seize the opportunity. I looked at his sincere, almost fanatical eyes, unable to utter a single word. I was doomed. Alex practically dragged me into the elevator. Top floor, the CEO's executive suite. Polished marble floors, minimalist yet chic decor. The air even smelled expensive. In 3 years of working here, this was my first time up. The conference room door was slightly ajar, and hushed, tense voices drifted out. They're demanding 1,000,000 Bitcoin. Are they crazy? That was Mr. Henderson's exasperated voice. This isn't the time for that. Does the tech department have any way to recover the data? A cool, authoritative female voice cut in. I figured that had to be Ms. Chun. Alex took a deep breath, adjusted his collar, and knocked on the door. Come in. Alex pushed the door open, ushered me forward, and then stood a half step behind me, like a loyal bodyguard. All eyes in the conference room instantly fixed on me. Mr. Henderson, the tech lead David Lee, and a few other executives I didn't recognize were seated around a massive conference table, their faces looking grim, like they just attended their own funerals. And at the head of the table sat a woman. She wore a perfectly tailored white pantsuit, her long hair pulled back in a neat bun, revealing a clean but strikingly beautiful face. Her eyes were cool, like deep winter water, with an almost unnerving sharpness that seemed to see everything. This was Sarah Chun. She was younger than I'd imagined, and had an even more commanding presence. Ms. Chun, Mr. Henderson, everyone. Alex cleared his throat, his voice almost announcing good news. I've brought Ethan Miller. Mr. Henderson stared at me for a moment. Then his face contorted with rage. Alex, what the hell is this? Is this a time for jokes? Why bring him here? Is he going to talk the server back to health? I was so embarrassed, I felt my toes curling into knots inside my shoes. Now, Mr. Henderson, don't be so quick to judge. Alex was unruffled, even sporting a knowing, slightly mysterious smile. Just because you couldn't solve the problem doesn't mean no one can. True talent often hides in plain sight. He glanced pointedly at me as he spoke. I wish the floor would swallow me whole. Sarah Chun didn't speak, merely studied me with those cool eyes, her gaze filled with scrutiny and doubt. Ethan Miller, she finally said, her voice soft, but it silenced the entire room. Alex says you have a way to solve this crisis. I opened my mouth, my throat feeling like it was stuffed with cotton. If I said no, that I was just BSGNG, would they believe me? Probably the next second, I'd be flying out of this building. Just as I was internally warring with myself, ready to confess, Alex spoke up again. Ms. Chun, Ethan here is a humble man. Doesn't like to show off. He leaned closer to Sarah, lowering his voice in a mysterious, I'm only telling you this tone. A true genius hides in plain sight, you know? Last night, he told me our company's server architecture was like a child's building blocks to him, completely flimsy. I watched Sarah Chin's eyebrow twitch. Mr. Henderson's face went purple with fury. Nonsense. Ethan Miller, you tell them. Did you really say that? All eyes swiveled back to me, like surgical scalpels ready to dissect me inside and out. What could I say? Admit it? That would be publicly slapping Mr. Henderson in the face, and my life would be hell. Deny it? Alex, that enthusiastic idiot, would just assume I was being modest and make up something even more ridiculous. I was sweating profusely, my lips trembling, unable to utter a single word. However, my panicked demeanor was, in Alex's mind, interpreted quite differently. See? He's not denying it, Alex exclaimed, slapping his thigh. He's above explaining himself to you guys. That's the mark of a true master, don't you see? The conference room fell into a stunned silence. I saw David Lee, the tech lead, twitch at the corner of his mouth, looking at me as if I were a lunatic. Sarah Chin stared at me for a full 10 seconds. Just when I thought she was about to call security to escort me out, she slowly spoke. All right, in that case, Ethan Miller, the tech department is now under your full command. Any resources you need, just tell me directly. Me? Mr. Henderson, Ms. Chun, this is ridiculous. He's in marketing. Is there any worse situation than this right now? Sarah Chun cut him off coldly. If the professionals are stumped, perhaps the unprofessional can create a miracle. I only care about results. She stood up, walked over to me, and extended her hand. Ethan Miller, the future of this company is temporarily in your hands. Her hand was pale, her fingers long and slender, with a cool touch. I mechanically reached out, shaking her hand, with only one thought in my head. This world has gone mad. The tech department, or rather, the disaster zone. Dozens of programmers with dark circles under their eyes, staring blankly, the air thick with the smell of coffee, instant noodles, and despair. I was ushered in by Alex and a few other executives, like a prisoner being led to the gallows. David Lee, the tech lead, a balding man in his mid-40s, looked at me with hostility and disdain. Mr. Miller, Mr. Consultant, you see, this is the situation. All server ports are locked down. They're using a new asymmetric encryption algorithm, and we've tried everything, but nothing works. He said Mr., but his tone was dripping with sarcasm. I stared at the rows of gibberish code on the screen, my scalp tingling. I'd practically forgotten C++ from college. This looked like alien script to me. So, Ethan, got any ideas? Alex whispered in my ear, his voice full of eager expectation. Ideas? My only idea was to lie down right now and wait to be fired. I nervously rubbed my hands, pacing back and forth in the server room, trying to look like I was deep in thought. 1 step, 2 steps. I saw the fire extinguisher in the corner. 1 step, 2 steps. I saw the window. Jumping from here would be a quick way out. My erratic behavior, of course, was given a fresh interpretation by Alex. See, David? Alex said to the tech lead. Ethan's surveying the physical environment of the entire server room. He's not thinking on a code level, but from a higher dimension. This is called dimensional reduction attack. David Lee's expression contorted further. I couldn't keep up the act. I walked up to a server, pointed at a blinking red light on it, ready to say something random and then admit my incompetence. This light, I began. Everyone held their breath, dozens of eyes staring fixedly at the red light I was pointing at. Why? Why does it keep blinking? I asked a question so dumb it should have been illegal. David Lee's eyes nearly rolled out of his head. That's the hard drive indicator light. It shows the hard drive is reading/writing. Of course it blinks. Oh. I awkwardly withdrew my hand. I was done for. My facade was crumbling. Yet, Alex, once again, saved or perhaps sabotaged me. Amateurs look at the spectacle. Experts look at the method, he exclaimed excitedly to the others. You think Ethan's asking a silly question? Wrong. He's reminding you to pay attention to details. If they can lock down our system, They must have left a trace in the most inconspicuous place. That blinking hard drive light is the key to solving this. Me, David Lee. The tech guys, everyone exchanged glances, their faces a mix of I don't understand, but it sounded impressive. David Lee, half believing, walked to the server and pulled up the hard drive's read/write logs. He stared at the screen for a few minutes, and his face suddenly changed. No. Something's wrong, he exclaimed, looking up sharply, his voice trembling. There's an extremely tiny data stream in the log, repeating every 0.01 seconds, disguised as normal system activity. This is a backdoor. The hacker left a backdoor. The entire tech department erupted. He found it. He actually found it. Oh my God, it was hidden so deep. We looked all night and didn't find it. Mr. Miller's a genius. He spotted the problem at a glance. I stood frozen in place, my hand still pointing at the red light, completely petrified. I just pointed randomly. Alex walked over to me, slapped me hard on the shoulder, looking at me with a brother, you didn't disappoint me expression, tears of excitement in his eyes. Ethan, you're my hero. I looked at him, my mouth opening and closing, but in the end, I didn't say a word, because I realized things were spiraling in a direction I completely couldn't control. With the back door found, the tech department was energized, their morale soaring. David Lee's attitude towards me did a complete 180 from disdain to reverence. He brought his laptop over to me, respectfully asking, Mr. Miller, we found the back door, but the encryption algorithm is still unbreakable. What do you suggest we do next? I stared at the dense characters on the screen, my eyes protesting. What could I suggest? I could only continue my pacing and thinking method, walking circles around the server room, frantically trying to figure out how to make a graceful exit. Time ticked by, and the tech department fell into another stalemate. Mr. Henderson called several times, saying clients were ready to pursue legal action. I was a wreck, sweat soaking the back of my shirt. Ethan, is the situation not ideal? Alex leaned in again, understandingly. Do you need some? Catalyst? Catalyst? I didn't understand. Alex winked at me, lowering his voice. Booze. Last night, you had some drinks, and that's when you said all those brilliant things. Maybe. You need a drink? I froze. He was right. Last night I got drunk, spouted a bunch of nonsense, and today the company's server actually had a problem. Now, I was thrown into this, and my only successful experience was finding that back door, and that inspiration seemed to come from my drunken ramblings last night. Could it be that drinking actually made me smarter? The thought was absurd, even to me. But right now, it seemed like the only lifeline. Go give me a bottle of liquor. I gritted my teeth, throwing caution to the wind. Something strong. Might as well go out with a bang. At least the company legend would be about that marketing guy, Ethan, who bravely drank to save the company and sacrificed himself, rather than that idiot who pretended to be a genius and failed spectacularly. Alex's eyes lit up, and he immediately went to do my bidding. A few minutes later, he slunk back, carrying a black plastic bag. He pulled out a bottle of, well, let's just say it wasn't top-shelf vodka. Ethan, this was all I could find near the office. It's definitely strong enough. I stared at the green bottle, swallowing hard. At that moment, Sarah Chun walked into the server room. Seeing the vodka in my hand, her beautiful brows furrowed slightly. What's going on here? Before I could speak, Alex rushed to explain. Ms. Chun, you see, great minds need inspiration, and liquor is Ethan's source of inspiration. As the saying goes, a poet writes 100 verses with a cup of wine. Ethan solves tough problems with a few shots. Sarah Chin's expression turned a bit strange. She looked at me, then at the bottle of vodka, but ultimately didn't stop us. I don't care what method you use, but in half an hour, I want to see results. She said this, then turned and leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, silently watching me. Her gaze seemed to say, begin your performance. I felt like dying. Under the watchful eyes of the entire tech department, plus the company CEO, I twisted open the cap. A strong smell of alcohol hit me. Gulp, gulp. I tilted my head back, chugging several large mouthfuls straight from the bottle. The burning liquid scorched its way down my throat, my stomach churning. I never had such potent alcohol. A few gulps in, and the world began to spin. Everything blurred. My colleagues' faces became blobs of color, their voices sounding distant. I felt my body go limp, and then I lost consciousness. After I passed out, a memory that wasn't mine, or rather, a narrative began to play in my mind. Ethan Miller, drunk mode activated. Personality switch, absolute rationality. Current task, decrypt server, initiate counterattack. I swayed to my feet, but my eyes were eerily clear, as if the drunken person from moments ago had been an illusion. I walked up to David Lee and took his laptop. Amateurs. I uttered 3 words, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. David Lee's face instantly flushed crimson, but he didn't dare retort. My fingers flew across the keyboard, moving so fast they were a blur. Lines of code scrolled down a screen like a waterfall, complex command windows popping up and closing. Everyone in the tech department watched, dumbfounded. What? What is he doing? I can't understand any of it. That speed, is that even humanly possible? He's not just decrypting, he's rewriting the core code. David Lee's voice trembled, filled with incredulity. Alex, meanwhile, clenched his fists excitedly, telling Sarah Chun, Ms. Chun, look, Ethan's serious. He's in the zone. Sarah Chun said nothing, but for the first time, her cold eyes showed a flicker of emotion. 10 minutes later, I stopped. Done. I handed the laptop back to David Lee, stating calmly, I've rebuilt the firewall. It's 100 times stronger than your old one. All data has been recovered. Also, I sent that hacker a little gift. David Lee took the laptop with trembling hands and opened the server backend. The green operational indicator light glowed, looking so beautiful. All data, perfectly intact. It's back. It's really back. A thunderous cheer erupted in the server room. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, in a dimly lit basement, a slender man with glasses smirked at his screen. A bunch of losers haven't paid up yet. Guess I'll have to teach them a lesson. He was about to input new commands when his computer screen suddenly went black, then displayed a massive red message. You call that hacking? Go practice for another 100 years. Immediately, his computer began frantically downloading all sorts of junk files, so fast that the CPU groaned under the strain. A few seconds later, with a puff of smoke, the computer was completely fried. Before the slender man could react, the basement door was kicked open. Several uniformed police officers burst in, their dart gun barrels aimed at him. Don't move. We received a report that you're involved in cyber extortion. The man looked at his ruined computer, then at the police officers, his face a mask of bewilderment. A report? Who called them? Having done all that, I simply yawned, then staggered to a corner, found an empty spot, curled up, and fell asleep. Deeply hidden with deeds unknown. When my consciousness returned, I found myself lying in a soft bed. Unfamiliar ceiling, unfamiliar room, a faint scent in the air. I shot up, realizing I was in a luxurious hotel suite. I was still wearing yesterday's clothes, but they'd been neatly pressed. On the table was a brand new suit with a card beside it. I picked up the card. It had elegant, strong handwriting. You worked hard last night. This is your reward and a new suit. The company needs your abilities. Sarah Chun. Beneath the card was a black bank card. I picked it up, turning it over and over. What was going on? How did I get here? Sarah Chun giving me money? And clothes? What exactly happened last night after I blacked out? I grabbed my phone, intending to call Alex, but saw dozens of unread messages, all from a company group chat. Ethan Miller is a legend. Ethan, my hero. I kneel before you. From today on, anyone who badmouths Ethan Miller will have to answer to me. The more I read, the more bewildered and alarmed I became. With trembling fingers, I opened my banking app, wanted to check the balance on that black card. After shakingly entering the card number and default PIN, a string of numbers appeared on the screen. I counted. Thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, a million. 1 million. My brain went whoosh, a complete blank. Looking at that string of numbers, my first reaction wasn't excitement, but fear. What? What did I do? Rob a bank? Or did I, after drinking, do something to Ms. Chun? Terrified, I quickly checked myself. Thankfully, all my parts were there, and I didn't feel anything strange. Just then my phone rang. It was Alex. I quickly answered. Ethan, You're awake. Where are you? Holy cow. You were incredible last night. Alex's booming voice almost deafened me. I'm at a hotel. Alex, quick, tell me, what did I do last night? I asked urgently. What did you do? Ethan, you saved the entire company. Alex, in his storyteller's voice, embellished and recounted everything that happened last night. From me seeing through the back door at a glance, to turning into a keyboard warrior after a few shots of vodka, then dealing with the hacker in 10 minutes and sending him a police escort package, and finally doing the deed and collapsing in a corner. I listened, jaw agape, the bank card nearly slipping from my hand. This was all me. Every bit of it. Alex's tone was absolutely certain. Ms. Chun and everyone in the tech department were there. They saw it all. Ethan, you've been hiding your talent too well. What did I tell you? You're a buried, unmatched genius. I hung up the phone, still dumbfounded on the bed, feeling like my entire worldview had been turned upside down. Ethan Miller, a regular corporate drone, turned into a super hacker when I get drunk? That's crazier than fiction. I pinched my thigh hard. It hurt. Not a dream. Looking at the black card and the suit on the table, I fell into deep thought. Should I take this money? Should I continue pretending to be this big shot? Ultimately, rationality, or perhaps the fear of poverty, triumphed over panic. $1 million. How many years would I have to work without eating or drinking to earn that? I might as well take it. As for pretending to be a big shot, I play it by ear. Worst case, next time something happens, I'll just say, I quit drinking. With a mix of apprehension, I put on the suit that clearly cost a fortune. It fit pretty well, actually. Clothes make the man, and I did look a bit more executive in a mirror. Back at the company, I received unprecedented treatment. The moment I walked in, the receptionist gave me a sweet smile and handed me a steaming cup of coffee. Good morning, Mr. Miller. Passing colleagues, whether I knew them or not, greeted me proactively, their eyes filled with deference and curiosity. Mr. Henderson, whose face usually looked like everyone owed him money, managed to force out a smile uglier than a grimace when he saw me in the hallway. Ethan, no, Mr. Miller. About last night, thank you for your hard work. I didn't recognize your talent before. Please don't take it to heart. I was flattered and could only stammer. It's fine. My cubicle had also been moved to a quiet corner by the window, and I was given a brand new, high-end computer. Alex followed me around like a personal assistant, bringing me coffee and water, constantly chirping, Ethan, I knew it, gold always shines. See, who dares look down on you now? I sat in my new chair, feeling like I was dreaming, just as I was struggling to adapt to my new identity as Mr. Miller. Bigger trouble came knocking. That afternoon, Sarah Chen's assistant personally came down to invite me, saying Ms. Chen had an urgent matter to discuss. I found myself back in the CEO's office on the top floor. This time, Sarah Chen was alone in the office. She had changed into a black dress, which made her look less sharp and more feminine. Have a seat, she gestured to the sofa opposite her. I sat down stiffly, my body tense as a board. Coffee or tea? Just plain water is fine. She personally poured me a glass of water, an act that made me even more nervous. Did you receive the card? She asked directly. I did. Ms. Chun, that's too much. It's not, she interrupted. Compared to the value you created for the company, that money is nothing. If it weren't for you, the company's losses would have been at least 8 figures, possibly leading to bankruptcy. I didn't know how to respond, so I just took a sip of water to hide my discomfort. Ethan Miller, she looked at me, her eyes very serious. I checked your file. Graduated from a regular university, marketing major, 3 years at the company, average performance. But you possess top-tier computer skills. Why? Here it came. I knew this question was coming. My mind raced. How should I explain? Say I'm a prodigy, self-taught, too fake. Say I had a mentor. Where's this mentor now? Just as I was about to run out of excuses, Alex's conspiracy theory flashed through my mind. Right, be humble. A great master hides in plain sight. I took a deep breath, trying to appear calm, then said in a deliberately profound tone, some things don't need to be known by everyone. As soon as I said it, I got goosebumps. To my surprise, Sarah Chen nodded, seemingly accepting my explanation. I understand. She looked at me, her eyes holding something I couldn't quite decipher. I was out of line. She actually believed me. A wave of elation washed over me. This mysterious facade trick seemed to work quite well. I invited you here today to discuss your position, Sarah Chun continued. The marketing department is too small for someone of your caliber. I'm planning to establish a special advisory office, reporting directly to me, specifically to handle various corporate crises. I want you to be the chief advisor for this department. Your salary will be 10 times what it is now, plus company shares. What do you think? 10 times my salary, plus shares? My heart skipped a beat. This was a godsend. I almost blurted out, I accept, but what little rationality I had left told me not to. I wasn't a chief advisor. I was just a poor guy who transformed when he got drunk. What if next time I got drunk, I didn't turn into a hacker, but a breakdancing champion? I'd be dead meat, wouldn't I? Ms. Chun, I think I prefer my current job. I stammered, awkwardly refusing. Sarah Chun was taken aback. She probably didn't expect anyone to refuse such a generous offer. She looked at me, her eyes filled with even deeper scrutiny. Why? I like freedom. I don't like being constrained. I continued to bluff, my cheeks burning. Being a regular employee is fine. I finished, subtly observing her expression. There was no disappointment on her face, but rather a knowing smile. Understand, she said. I was thinking too simply. People like you aren't swayed by worldly fame and fortune. Me? No, I love fame and fortune, okay? I dream about it. However, we can discuss the position later, but the company is facing a major problem right now, and I might need your help again. Sarah Chin's expression turned serious. My heart sank, just as I feared. Our biggest competitor, Genesis Tech, recently poached half of our core technical staff and has been spreading rumors in the market, saying they plan a hostile takeover. Affected by this news, our company's stock price has dropped 30% in 3 days, and many partners are wavering. If we don't find a solution soon, the company might not survive. Sarah Chun looked at me, her eyes holding a trace of plea. I know this is a big ask, and it's unreasonable, but right now, the only person I can think of who can turn this around is you. Looking at her face, etched with fatigue and anxiety, I couldn't bring myself to refuse. For a high-flying CEO to speak to me with such a pleading tone, she truly must be at her wit's end. But what could I do? This was a business war, not something I could solve by just typing on a keyboard. Was I supposed to get drunk and spout business advice? What if I got drunk and started doing martial arts? Ms. Chun, Tonight at the Zenith Club downtown, I've arranged a dinner with several important investors, hoping to stabilize them. Victor Sterling, the CEO of Genesis Tech, will definitely be there too. Sarah Chun interrupted me, handing me an invitation. I hope you can come with me. Her meaning was clear. She wanted me to perform at the dinner. This wasn't a dinner. It was a trap. I held the gilded invitation, feeling its immense weight. Just help me out, okay? Sarah Chin's voice was very soft, carrying a hint of vulnerability I hadn't noticed before. I looked at her, and against my better judgment, I nodded. The Zenith Club, located in the most bustling part of the riverfront, was the kind of exclusive private club I'd only ever seen in finance magazines. The fountains outside, the crystal chandeliers in the lobby, the Persian rugs on the floor, everything screamed luxury. I wore the suit Sarah Chun had given me, trailing behind her, feeling like a mortal who had stumbled into heaven, completely out of place. Sarah Chun seemed to sense my discomfort, slowing her pace to walk beside me. Don't be nervous. Just treat it like a regular business dinner. How could I not be nervous? Soon, I was going to be pushed onto the battlefield as a secret weapon. A waiter led us to a grand private dining room where 7 or 8 people were already seated, all impeccably dressed in suits, exuding an air of seasoned business veterans. Ms. Chun, you're finally here. We were getting anxious. A bald middle-aged man stood up, greeting us warmly. My apologies for the wait. Traffic was a bit heavy, Sarah Chun replied gracefully, then turned to introduce me. This is my special advisor, Ethan Miller. The investors' gazes swept over me, their eyes clearly showing disdain and confusion. What kind of special advisor could a marketing kid be? Sarah Chun caught their expressions, but offered no further explanation, simply pulling me to sit beside her. Come ms. Chun, let me introduce you. This is Mr. Sterling from Genesis Tech, the bald man said, pointing to a young man across the table. I followed his gesture. He was a man in his early 30s, wearing gold-rimmed glasses, with a refined appearance but eyes that held a hint of cunning and arrogance. He was Victor Sterling. Victor Sterling saw me, and a mocking smile played on his lips. Ms. Chun, does Vanguard Innovations not have anyone else? Why bring an intern to an event like this? As soon as he spoke, a low ripple of laughter spread around the table. Sarah Chen's face darkened. I wished I could vanish on the spot. Mr. Sterling, you jest. Mr. Miller here is our company's cornerstone, Sarah Chen retorted, her voice icy. Oh, cornerstone. Victor Sterling laughed exaggeratedly. I heard your company's stock price is almost tanking. Is this cornerstone for throwing at your own feet? His words were venomous. Sarah Chen's lips trembled with anger, but she couldn't find a suitable comeback. The atmosphere at the table became incredibly awkward. The investors sat poker-faced, enjoying the show. I felt like I was sitting on pins and needles, believing I was the culprit who caused Sarah Chen to be humiliated. Come on, let's not just talk, everyone. Let's eat and drink. The bald man tried to smooth things over. The food and drinks were quickly served. Victor Sterling raised his glass, the first to stand, aiming directly at Sarah Chen. Ms. Chen, I toast you. Business is war, and I've been a bit ruthless this time, but it's for a better future for both our companies. As long as you agree to my acquisition plan, I promise the Vanguard Innovations brand will be preserved, and you can continue as CEO. This wasn't a toast. It was an ultimatum. Sarah Chen raised her glass, her hand trembling slightly. I looked at her stubborn yet helpless profile, and a surge of unnamed anger burned within me. This was too much. Just as Sarah Chen was about to drink, I suddenly stood up, snatched the glass from her hand, and downed it in one gulp. Everyone froze. Mr. Sterling, right? I hiccuped, using the slight courage the alcohol gave me to look Victor Sterling directly in the eye. Ms. Chen isn't feeling well. I'll drink this for her. Who are you? Do you have a place to speak here? Who I am isn't important. I set the glass down heavily on the table. What's important is, you want to acquire our company. I'm the first one who says no. I regretted saying that the moment the words left my mouth. Was I crazy? Where did I get the nerve to say something like that? Sarah Chen looked at me with surprise, her eyes filled with complex emotions. Victor Sterling laughed as if he'd heard the funniest joke. Just you? A fresh-faced kid? Just me, I said, sticking my neck out, stubbornly refusing to back down. Fine, you've got guts. Victor Sterling laughed, infuriated. If you can drink me under the table tonight, I'll put the acquisition on hold. But if you pass out, Ms. Chun has to sign the letter of intent for the takeover right here, in front of everyone. He was trying to use alcohol to humiliate me and force Sarah Chen's hand. The other investors at the table showed excited expressions. They didn't care who won or lost. They just loved a good show. Sarah Chen tugged at my sleeve, whispering, Ethan, don't be reckless. You can't outdrink him. I knew that, but now I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Bring it on. Who's afraid? I gritted my teeth, throwing caution to the wind. What followed was an inhumane binge-drinking session. Victor Sterling had a whole entourage, taking turns to toast me. I, on the other hand, was a lone soldier. Sarah Chen tried to block for me, but I stopped her every time. I don't know how much I drank, only that the figures in front of me swayed more and more, and the dishes on the table started dancing. Vodka, wine, whiskey, all sorts of liquids churned in my stomach, my throat burning. My consciousness, eroded by alcohol, blurred little by little. Before I completely lost sensation, I heard Victor Sterling's triumphant laughter and Sarah Chen's anxious cries. Ethan! Ethan! Then, the world went dark. Ethan Miller, drunk mode activated. Personality switch, business overlord. Current task, crush Genesis Tech's acquisition plan. Reverse Vanguard Innovations decline. I slowly opened my eyes. There was no trace of drunkenness in my gaze, only the cold, unfeeling calm of absolute logic. I picked up a bottle of high-end scotch from the table and poured myself a full glass. Mr. Sterling, the game you were playing just now? Time to change the rules. My voice was soft, but it clearly reached everyone's ears. Victor Sterling looked at me, and an inexplicable dread settled in his chest. The person in front of him was utterly different from the reckless kid who'd been putting on a brave front moments ago. Those eyes were so sharp, they seemed to peer right through him. How do you want to play? Victor Sterling forced himself to remain calm. I raised the glass, swirling the liquid gently. Simple. I drink a glass, and I ask you a question. If you can't answer, or you answer incorrectly, you drink 3 glasses. Arrogant, one of Victor Sterling's VPs scoffed from behind him. I ignored him, simply looking at Victor Sterling, a cold smile playing on my lips. What scared? Cornered publicly. Victor Sterling had no choice but to accept. Fine. I like to see what kind of tricks a fresh-faced kid like you can pull. I tilted my head back and drained the glass. First question. I set the glass down, my gaze like a knife. Why did Meridian Corp, your biggest client last quarter, suddenly terminate its cooperation with you? Victor Sterling's face instantly changed. This was core company confidential information. Meridian Corp. S orders accounted for nearly 40% of their company's revenue. This sudden termination almost caused their cash flow to rupture. He had spent a fortune to suppress this news and stabilize the stock price. How did this person know? I don't know what you're talking about. Victor Sterling's eyes darted away. Don't know. I smiled. Then it seems, Mr. Sterling, you owe yourself 3 drinks. Under everyone's surprised and uncertain gazes, Victor Sterling gritted his teeth and drank 3 glasses in a row. I poured another full glass and once again drained it. Second question. The celestial arch system your company is secretly developing. Does line 314 of its core code contain a critical logic flaw that could cause all user data to be completely wiped under specific circumstances? Victor Sterling shot to his feet, the color draining from his face. The celestial arch system was their company's future hope, his trump card against Vanguard innovations. And that flaw had only been accidentally discovered a few days ago during testing. Only he and his chief technical officer knew about it. Who exactly was he? How? How do you know that? Victor Sterling's voice trembled. It seems, Mr. Sterling, you owe 3 more drinks. I didn't answer his question, merely made a please gesture. The atmosphere in the private room had completely shifted. The investor's eyes, once disdainful, were now filled with fear. Sarah Chun covered her mouth, her beautiful eyes sparkling with wonder. She knew I was technically brilliant, but she never imagined my understanding of business and rivals was this terrifying. Victor Sterling's hands trembled as he drank 3 more glasses. The strong liquor had him swaying precariously. I poured another drink and once again downed it. Last question. I walked up to him, looking down at him, my voice like ice from the deepest abyss. The money you used to poach our company's employees, did you divert funds meant to pay off your loan to Capital Union Bank? I've calculated the time. The day after tomorrow is the final deadline, isn't it? Boom! Something exploded in Victor Sterling's mind. His last line of defense was utterly shattered. His legs gave out, and he collapsed into his chair, his face ashen. I picked up his phone and, in front of everyone, dialed a number. Hello, is this Mr. Harrison from Meridian Corp? This is Ethan Miller. Regarding our new partnership proposal between Vanguard and your company, I think we could discuss it now. Yes, Victor Sterling is here. No, he's a bit busy at the moment. He might need to figure out how to explain his bad debt to the bank first. After hanging up, I dialed another number. Hello, Mr. Roberts from Capital Union Bank. This is Ethan Miller, a consultant for Vanguard Innovations. I'd like to talk to you about Genesis Tech's upcoming loan maturity. Yes, Vanguard is very interested in acquiring their valuable assets when they go into bankruptcy liquidation. The entire private room fell into a deathly silence. Everyone stared at me as if I were a devil. In just 3 drinks, 3 questions, and 2 phone calls, the once arrogant Victor Sterling had been cast into an abyss of no return. This wasn't a business negotiation. This was a unilateral slaughter. Having done all that, I simply felt tired. The lingering effects of the alcohol surged, my vision blurred, and I swayed, falling sideways. A pair of soft arms caught me just in time. I fell into a warm, fragrant embrace. It was Sarah Chun. I woke up again in that familiar hotel suite. My head throbbed, the hangover even worse than last time. I struggled to sit up, finding myself covered by a soft duvet, a glass of warm water, and a packet of hangover pills on the nightstand. I blacked out again. I tried to recall what happened last night. The last thing I remembered was foolishly trying to outdrink Victor Sterling. And then, nothing. I was screwed. I definitely passed out, made a fool of myself in front of everyone. Sarah Chun must be so disappointed in me, right? Not only did I not help, I probably made things worse. I clutched my head in frustration, wishing I could disappear into a crack in the floor. I picked up my phone, intending to text Sarah Chun an apology, but saw a message from her, sent half an hour ago. Eat something when you wake up. I had the hotel send breakfast. Last night, thank you. Thank me? For what? For making a spectacle of myself while drunk? I was completely bewildered and decided to call Alex. The moment he picked up, Alex's voice, like a loudspeaker, boomed. Ethan, my brother, you're a god, a living business deity. What happened now? My brain ached from his shouting. What happened? Your miracle last night is already the talk of the entire industry. Then, Alex, with his storytelling flair, recounted the miracle of last night. For me, solving everything in 3 drinks and 3 questions, to dismantling Genesis Tech with 2 phone calls, and finally, gracefully collapsing, drunk in a beautiful woman's arms. My jaw nearly dropped to the floor as I listened. This was me. I asked, incredulous. Absolutely. There were a dozen people in that private room. They all saw it. Victor Sterling was paralyzed on the spot. And this morning, Genesis Tech stock price hit rock bottom. Rumor has it their assets have already been seized by the bank. And Mr. Harrison, the CEO of Meridian Corp, personally came to our company this morning, specifically asking to meet with you to discuss a partnership. Ms. Chen couldn't even stop him. Ethan, you're famous now. The industry's buzzing about our wine-saved consultant at Vanguard Innovations, who can make fleets of ships disappear with a flick of his wrist. I hung up, still in a daze. If the last time was a coincidence, what about this time? Did I really become another person when I got drunk? An omnipotent monster? I looked at my own unremarkable face in the mirror, a deep chill running through me. Who else was living in this body? Fear, an unprecedented fear, seized me. I was afraid of this unknown self, afraid of this feeling of losing control. I decided, from today on, not a drop of alcohol. I couldn't let that monster out again. However, fate seemed to love playing tricks on me. Just as I resolved to return to a normal life, a greater crisis quietly arrived. That afternoon, I was at my desk trying to figure out how to decline Meridian Corp. as partnership offer when Sarah Chen's assistant appeared again. Mr. Miller, Ms. Chen would like to see you in her office. My heart sank, but I reluctantly followed. The moment I entered the office, I sensed something was wrong. Sarah Chun sat behind her desk, her face pale, her eyes holding an unmistakable look of panic. What's happened? I asked. She didn't speak, just pushed her phone across the desk towards me. On the phone screen was a photo. The background looked like an abandoned factory. A girl in a white dress was tied to a chair, her mouth taped shut, her eyes filled with terror. I recognized the girl. It was Sarah Chen's younger sister, Chloe, a college student. Below the photo, there was a line of text. If you want your sister to live, have your wine sage advisor come alone with a case of liquor to the abandoned steel mill on the east side. Remember, no police, or you'll be collecting her body. My head went THUMMP. Kidnapping. And they specifically demanded me. Who did this? My voice trembled. It's probably Victor Sterling. Sarah Chen's voice was icy. He's been pushed to the edge. He's capable of anything. Then we should call the police right away. I urged. We can't call the police. Sarah Chun stood up excitedly. They said they'd kill her if we do. I can't gamble with my sister's life. She looked at me, her eyes filled with pleading and dependence, like a drowning person grasping at a last straw. Ethan Miller, I know this is an unreasonable request, and it's dangerous. But right now, only you can save her. I looked at her bloodshot eyes, my mind a jumbled mess. Me go. What could I do? Challenge the kidnappers to a drinking contest? Sober, I was just a weak corporate drone. But if I didn't go, Chloe might actually die. That was a living human life. My mind waged an internal war. On one side, the fear of the unknown. On the other, the pangs of my conscience. Finally, I gritted my teeth. Okay, I'll go. It was just drinking, wasn't it? Just letting that monster out one more time? To save a life, I'd do it. But I have one condition. I looked at Sarah Chun, saying each word clearly. You have to promise me this is the last time. After this is over, you'll announce to the public that you fired me. I don't want to live this kind of life anymore. Sarah Chun froze. She looked at me, her eyes complex. After a long silence, she nodded, her voice a little hoarse. Okay, I promise. East Side, abandoned steel mill. The setting sun's afterglow painted everything here in hues of blood. Rust-eaten steel frames stood like the bones of giant beasts, emitting mournful creaks in the wind. I walked alone, carrying a case of vodka, into this steel graveyard. As per their demands, I'd left my phone outside the factory. Now I was completely cut off from the outside world. The factory interior was massive and empty, the floor covered in dust and debris. Every step I took, I could hear my own heartbeat like a drum. I'm here, and I brought the liquor. Where's the person you wanted? I shouted, summoning my courage. My voice echoed in the cavernous factory, sounding fragile. You've got guts, coming alone. From behind a railing on the second floor, several figures emerged. Leading them was a grim-faced Victor Sterling. Beside him stood several burly, menacing men, all carrying steel pipes and machetes. And behind them, Chloe was tied to a pillar, her mouth gagged, looking at me in terror. Victor Sterling, you're insane. Kidnapping is a crime. I yelled, tried to sound tougher than I felt. Crime. Victor Sterling laughed maniacally. You ruined me, destroyed my family. And you talk to me about crime? Today, I'm going to make you and that bitch Sarah Chun both pay. He pointed at the case of liquor in my hand. Open the booze and drink it. I want to see if you, the wine sage, really have 3 heads and 6 arms. He wanted to see me drunk and then kill me. I knew it. I had no escape. I placed the case of liquor on the ground, opened it, and pulled out a bottle of vodka. Twisting off the cap, I looked at the clear liquid, my heart filled with mixed emotions. This stuff was the source of my power, and also the root of all my fears. Drink. Why aren't you drinking? Scared. Victor Sterling urged, his voice arrogant. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and tilted my head back, chugging. The burning liquid flowed down my throat, like igniting a fire. 1 bottle, 2 bottles, 3 bottles. I don't know how much I drank, only that the world spun and my stomach churned. Before my consciousness completely sunk, I saw Victor Sterling's twisted, triumphant face, saw the burly men approaching me with steel pipes, and saw the desperate tears in Chloe's eyes. I'm sorry, Miss Chun. I might have to break my promise. Ethan Miller, drunk mode activated. Personality switch, combat master. Current task, eliminate all threats, rescue hostage. I opened my eyes. The world, to me, became incredibly clear, as if entering bullet time. The movements of those burly men seemed as slow as snails. The one in front, wielding a steel pipe, swung it towards my head. My body didn't even move. I merely tilted my head slightly, easily dodging the fatal blow. At the same time, my right hand shot out like lightning, grabbing his wrist as he swung the pipe, and gave it a slight twist. Crack! The sharp sound of bone breaking echoed eerily in the empty factory. The burly man let out an inhuman shriek, and the steel pipe clattered to the ground. I didn't pause, pulling and pushing in one fluid motion, using his body to collide with another burly man attacking from the side. The two tumbled into a heap. The remaining men watched, dumbfounded. They never expected this drunken, swaying figure to suddenly become so terrifying. Go, all of you, kill him. Victor Sterling shrieked in a panic. The burly men, summoning their courage, swung their machetes, surrounding me from all directions. My eyes showed no emotion, as if watching a group of children waving toys. My foot tapped lightly on the ground, picking up the fallen steel pipe. The next second I moved. No one saw my actions clearly. They only saw a black blur, weaving among them. Each flicker was accompanied by a scream and the sound of breaking bones. Clang! 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 Steel pipe clashed with machetes, sparks flying. But not a single machete touched my clothes. Less than 30 seconds. The fight was over. The burly men all lay on the ground, clutching their broken limbs, groaning in pain. Their weapons were scattered everywhere. And I still stood in place, holding the steel pipe, not a speck of dust on me. The entire factory was silent, save for Victor Sterling's heavy breathing. He stared at me in terror, backing away step by step, until his back hit the railing, nowhere left to go. You stay away. You're not human. You're a demon. I said nothing, simply tossed the steel pipe aside. The heavy pipe arced through the air, accurately embedding itself a few inches deep into a concrete pillar 15 feet away. Victor Sterling's legs gave out from fright, and he collapsed onto the ground, a foul smell emanating from his pants. He had actually wet himself. I didn't spare him another glance, turning and walking up the stairs to the second floor. I approached Chloe, who was tied up, and with a simple tug, effortlessly snapped the ropes binding her, then ripped the tape from her mouth. Who are you? Chloe asked, her voice trembling, looking at me. I didn't answer. The alcohol-induced power was rapidly fading. A strong sense of exhaustion and dizziness washed over me. My body swayed, vision blurred, and I completely lost consciousness. The moment I fell, I seemed to see the factory gates burst open and countless lights and figures pouring in. Leading them was Sarah Chun. I woke up in a hospital bed. White ceiling, smell of disinfectant, and 4-needle in the back of my hand. I moved, my whole body aching as if a truck had run over me. You're awake? A familiar voice sounded beside me. I turned my head and saw Sarah Chun sitting by my bed. She was in casual clothes, her face showing unmistakable exhaustion and worry, but her eyes were bright. How'd I get here? I spoke, my voice hoarse as if it were on fire. You had alcohol poisoning and acute gastric hemorrhage. The doctor said if you'd arrived a minute later, it would have been dangerous. Sarah Chin's voice held a trace of lingering fear. I froze. Alcohol poisoning? Gastric hemorrhage? Looks like I really overdid it this time. Chloe? How is she? I asked urgently. She's fine, just a little shaken, already home. Sarah Chin looked at me, her eyes complex. She told me you saved her. My heart sank. I didn't know how to explain. And Victor Sterling and his men? The police took them away. Kidnapping, assault, multiple charges. They'll probably be locked up for life. I sighed in relief. At least one big problem was solved. Silence fell in the hospital room. I didn't know what to say. Sarah Chin also seemed lost in thought. After a long while, she spoke, her voice very soft. Ethan Miller, who exactly are you? Here it was again, the ultimate question. I gave a wry smile, deciding to tell the truth. Anyway, my request was to leave the company, and I wouldn't be seeing her again after this. Ms. Chun, if I told you I'm just a normal person, and I don't even know what happens when I get drunk, would you believe me? I looked into her eyes, ready for her doubt and disbelief. However, she nodded. I believe you. This time, it was my turn to be stunned. You believe me? I do, she repeated, her eyes incredibly earnest. Before you went to the factory, Alex told me everything about you, including the part where you transform when you're drunk. Me? Alex, that blabbermouth. At first, I didn't believe it. I thought it was absurd, Sarah Chun continued. But from a server incident to the acquisition crisis, and now this. I have no choice but to believe. So you called the police? I asked. She nodded. Immediately after you left, I called the police. I couldn't let you go alone. Luckily, by the time we arrived, you'd already handled all the trouble. She looked at me, her eyes filled with apology. I'm sorry for dragging you into such a dangerous situation. It's fine, at least Chloe's safe, I said, trying to sound casual. The doctor said your body has serious issues due to your long-term, irregular lifestyle and this excessive drinking. He advised you never to touch alcohol again. My heart stirred. That suited me just fine. Perfect, I said. From now on, I won't have to be that wine sage anymore. I looked at her, saying earnestly, Ms. Chun, don't forget what you promised me. Sarah Chin's body stiffened. She was silent for a long time, so long I thought she would renege. Okay, she finally nodded, her eyes a little red. When you're discharged, I'll process your resignation. Your shares will be converted into cash for you. No need, I shook my head. I've already received enough. The shares are your investment in my future, and since there's no future, I can't take them. I just wanted to distance myself as quickly as possible and return to my mundane, safe life. Sarah Chun looked at me, her lips moving as if to speak, but finally, it became a sigh. You get some rest. I'll leave now. She stood up, walking out of the ward with a hint of melancholy. Watching her back, a strange feeling welled up in my heart. But soon, that feeling was replaced by the joy of imminent freedom. Goodbye, Mr. Miller. Goodbye, Wine Sage. Hello, Ethan Miller. The day I was discharged, the weather was beautiful. I finished my resignation paperwork and returned everything the company had provided. Alex cried his eyes out, clinging to my leg, begging me not to go. Ethan, you can't leave. Well, I do if you leave. My dream of a big shot, my life as a talent scout, it's all over. It took all my strength to pry him off my leg. All right, I'm not dying. We'll keep in touch. I patted his shoulder. Mr. Henderson and other colleagues also came to see me off, their eyes filled with regret. Only Sarah Chun didn't come. Good. It saved us the awkwardness. Carrying my simple luggage, I walked out of Vanguard Innovations' doors, feeling like I'd stepped into another lifetime. In this short month, my life had been a roller coaster. From a bullied corporate drone, I became the revered Mr. Miller, and now I was an unemployed nobody again. But I had no regrets. With $1 million Sarah Chun gave me, I rented a small house in the suburbs and bought a used car for commuting. The remaining money was enough for me to live comfortably for several years. I began my life of blissful idleness. Every day, I woke up naturally, read books, played games, or drove to the outskirts to fish. No KPIs, no boss yelling, no endless business dinners. This peaceful and ordinary life was what I truly wanted. I blocked all work-related contacts, including Sarah Chun. I thought my life would continue peacefully like this. Until that day, an unexpected visitor arrived. That afternoon, I was watering my new succulents in the yard when there was a knock at the door. I opened it and saw someone I never expected. Chloe Chun. She wore simple athletic wear, her hair tied in a ponytail, looking youthful and vibrant, completely without the terror she'd shown at the factory that day. Ethan, she asked, a little uncertainly, seeing me. That's me. How did you find this place? I was a bit surprised. I got the address from Alex. She stuck out her tongue playfully. My sister didn't want me to come. I snuck out. Is there something you need? I came to thank you, she said, pulling out a delicate thermos from behind her back. I made some soup myself for you to recover. I couldn't help but smile wryly, but I invited her in. Thank you for saving me that day at the factory, she said, sitting on the sofa, hugging a cushion, her big eyes blinking at me. You're really amazing, like a superhero from a movie. I'm no superhero, just lucky. I poured her a glass of water. No, you weren't just lucky, she pouted, rebutting. My sister told me all about it. When you drink, you become super powerful. Like the Hulk. Her analogy made me chuckle. How's your sister doing, by the way? I asked, almost without thinking. I regretted at the moment I said it. Hadn't I decided to cut ties with them? She's not doing well. Chloe's expression darkened. Ever since you left, she's been like a different person, working overtime every day, even harder than before. I've seen her several times in the middle of the night, staring blankly in her study, looking at your picture. My heart gave a sudden thump. Looking at my picture? Why would she look at my picture? I don't know. Chloe shook her head. I think she might like you. Impossible. I instinctively retorted. What kind of person is she? What kind of person am I? We're from two different worlds. Love doesn't follow so many rules, Chloe sighed, sounding wise beyond her years. Ethan, I can tell you like my sister too, right? Otherwise, why would you risk your life to save her that day? I fell silent. Yes, why did I risk my life to save her? Was it just out of sense of duty? Or was it because, deep down, I didn't want to see that cold, stubborn woman show such despair and vulnerability? I didn't know. Ethan, my sister, she actually lives a very tiring life. Chloe's voice was a little low. Our family situation is very complicated. The company is everything to her, her only armor. She looks strong, but she's actually very lonely inside. You're the first person she was willing to let her guard down for. She said she'd let you go, but she was sadder than anyone. She just didn't want to force you. Chloe's words, like pebbles, dropped into the calm lake of my heart, stirring ripples. That night, I couldn't sleep. Sarah Chin's face kept appearing in my mind. Her cold eyes, her stubborn profile, her rare smiles, and her choked, tearful thank you in my ear. I sat up from bed in frustration and walked to the window. I found that I really did miss her a little. Life resumed its calm routine, but my heart was in turmoil. I couldn't help but start following news about Vanguard Innovations. After Victor Sterling's Genesis Tech collapsed, Vanguard Innovations became dominant, thriving smoothly. Its stock price soared, and Sarah Chun became the most dazzling rising star in the business world, frequently gracing the covers of various financial magazines. Looking at the radiant, spirited woman in the magazines, I felt a genuine joy, but it was quickly followed by a deeper sense of loss. She was becoming more and more brilliant, while I was just an unemployed nobody hiding in a corner. The distance between us grew wider and wider. Just when I thought our story was completely over, a phone call once again disrupted my life. It was Alex, his voice more anxious and panicked than ever before. "Ethan, big trouble. Check the news, quick." My heart sank, and I quickly turned on the TV. The financial channel was broadcasting an urgent news flash. It has been reported that the multinational financial giant, Soros Capital, today suddenly announced its intention to launch a hostile takeover of our nation's emerging tech company, Vanguard Innovations. Affected by this news, Vanguard Innovations' stock price plummeted 50% within an hour of market open and has now been temporarily halted. Soros Capital? That name resonated deeply with me. They were true international capital behemoths, known for their ruthless tactics and abundant resources. Companies they targeted rarely escaped. How did they set their sights on Vanguard Innovations? "Ethan, what are we going to do?" Alex cried on the other end of the line. "This opponent is too strong, not even in the same league. The company's in chaos. So many executives are secretly looking for new jobs. Ms. Chen has locked herself in her office, not seeing anyone." My heart clenched. I could imagine the pressure and despair Sarah Chan was facing right now. The business she built from scratch, all her hard work, could vanish in a matter of days. "Ethan, only you can save the company, save Ms. Chun." Alex's voice was tearful. "I know you quit drinking, but this time, I'm begging you, okay?" I hung up, staring blankly at Sarah Chin's photo from a press conference on the TV. In the photo, she was still beautiful, but the fatigue and stress in her eyes were unmistakable. Chloe's words echoed in my mind. The company is everything to her, and her only armor. Now, her armor was about to be shattered. Could I still hide in my safe zone, unaffected as before? I couldn't. I grabbed my car keys and rushed out of the house. I sped all the way to the biggest supermarket near my place. I dashed to the liquor aisle, looking at the rows of bottles, my eyes firming. Vodka, whiskey, tequila. "Excuse me, can I get a case of your strongest liquor? All of it." I carried several cases of hard liquor directly to the Vanguard Innovations building. The company entrance was swarming with reporters, like flies to honey. I slipped in through the back door. Inside, the company was in a state of panic. Employees gathered in small groups, discussing the company's future, their faces etched with confusion and fear. I ignored everyone, heading straight for the CEO's office on the top floor. Sarah Chin's assistant tried to stop me, but I pushed her aside. I twisted open the office door, and a strong smell of smoke hit me. Sarah Chun sat alone by the huge floor-to-ceiling window, a lady's cigarette between her fingers, the ashtray at her feet already overflowing with butts. She had lost so much weight. Her whole body looked fragile, like a delicate piece of porcelain. Hearing the door open, she turned, saw me, and froze. "You, why are you here?" Her voice was terribly hoarse. I said nothing, just placed the cases of liquor heavily in front of her. She looked at the bottles, her pupils suddenly constricting. "What are you doing?" "What am I doing?" I walked up to her, looking directly into her eyes, saying each word clearly, "Saving your company, saving you." "I don't need it." She stood up agitatedly, sweeping all the papers off her desk. "Go. Didn't I tell you to leave? Why did you come back? I don't need your pity or sympathy." I knew she was just saying angry things. She just didn't want to drag me down again. "I'm not pitying you." I looked at her red eyes, my heart squeezed painfully by something. "Sarah Chun, listen to me. I came back, not for the company, not for some stupid wine sage title, but for you. I love you." I finally said the words. Sarah Chun completely froze, staring at me blankly, tears streaming down her face uncontrollably. I reached out, gently wiping away her tears. So, stop carrying everything alone, okay? Hand it all over to me. She looked at me, then at the cases of liquor behind me, her lips trembling, unable to speak. After a long moment, she threw herself into my arms, sobbing uncontrollably, crying like a child who had been wronged. I held her tightly, feeling my heart fill to the brim. All right, don't cry. I patted her back, saying softly, give me half an hour, no 10 minutes. I'll send this Soros guy packing. I helped her sit down, then in front of her, twisted open a bottle of vodka. Gulp, gulp. This time, I didn't hesitate, because I knew I wasn't fighting for some false fame or some sense of responsibility. I was fighting for the woman I loved. In the last moment before my consciousness plunged into darkness, I gave her a reassuring smile. Don't worry, I've got this. Ethan Miller, drunk mode activated. Personality switch, financial god. Warning, physical functions at limit. Max duration for this mode, 15 minutes. Current task, target Soros Capital, defend Vanguard Innovations. I opened my eyes, devoid of emotion, only the extreme coldness of numbers and logic. I walked to Sarah Chen's desk and opened her computer. On the screen, Vanguard Innovations' stock price K-line chart plunged almost vertically, a shocking sight. Transfer all company liquid assets into my personal account. I issued the first command to Sarah Chun, my tone leaving no room for doubt. Sarah Chun paused, then immediately complied. She knew the person in front of her was no longer the Ethan Miller she knew. My hands became a blur on the keyboard. Countless trading windows flashed across the screen. Short selling, buying, leveraging, hedging. A dizzying array of complex financial operations flowed from my hands as easily as breathing. I was not merely defending, I was attacking. I exploited the opponent's funding gaps and trading vulnerabilities, setting one intricate trap after another. A silent war raged intensely in the virtual world. Meanwhile, across the ocean at Soros Capital's headquarters, a white-haired old man casually sipped coffee, observing Vanguard Innovations' tragic situation on screen. How utterly boring. Eastern companies are still so fragile. He sneered. However, the next second, the smile on his face froze. On the screen, a mysterious and enormous fund suddenly entered the market, like a beast, savagely tearing through their intricate web of traps. Their short positions were forcibly covered one after another. Vanguard Innovations' stock price began to rebound aggressively at an unbelievable angle. What's going on? The old man shot to his feet, his coffee cup smashing to the floor. Sir, we're under a massive attack from an unknown opponent. Their trading methods. They're terrifying. We can't predict their next move. A trader reported in panic. Investigate. Find out who this opponent is, the old man roared. 5 minutes later, Vanguard Innovations' stock price had not only recovered all its losses, but had even risen by 20% against the trend. Soros Capital's investment of hundreds of billions of dollars was wiped out in mere minutes. 10 minutes later, sir, our firewall has been breached. They've published all our dirt and insider trading records on the international internet. The old man watched the unfolding scandal on screen, his vision blurred, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He knew he was finished. Soros Capital, a name that once dominated the international financial market, would become history today. Having done all this, I simply felt tired. The power within me receded like a tide. A strong feeling of weakness and intense pain swept over me. My vision blurred, and I collapsed towards the cold floor. I had a very long dream. In the dream, I was back at that abandoned steel mill. But this time, I hadn't drunk and I hadn't transformed. Victor Sterling and his men walked towards me with steel pipes and machetes. I trembled with fear and turned to run. But I couldn't run fast, and they quickly caught up, pinning me to the ground, kicking and punching me. I felt my bones breaking one by one, my consciousness blurring. Just as I thought I was going to die, a beam of light shone in. Sarah Chun appeared. She was like a warrior goddess, a steel pipe in her hand, charging into the crowd, knocking down the burly men one by one. Then she walked to me, extending her hand, a gentle smile on her face. Don't be scared. I'm here. I smiled and reached out, wanting to grab her hand. Just as my fingertips were about to touch hers, the dream shattered. I suddenly opened my eyes, seeing the familiar hospital ceiling. "You're awake?" Sarah Chin's voice sounded in my ear, tinged with surprise and exhaustion. I turned my head and saw her slumped by my bedside, her eyes bloodshot, her chin much sharper. It looked like she had been watching over me the whole time. How long have I been asleep?" I spoke, my throat feeling dry as if it were on fire. 3 days and 3 nights. She helped me pour a glass of water, moistening my lips with a cotton swab. "The doctor said this time you had severe organ failure, almost didn't make it." Her voice choked up at the end. I looked at her, my heart aching. "I'm sorry, I worried you again." "Silly." She took my hand, pressing it tightly against her face. "I'm the one who should be sorry." I could feel her cheek was cold, with traces of undried tears. "The company, how is it?" I asked. She smiled like a child. "We won. Soros Capital has announced bankruptcy liquidation. Now Vanguard is the hottest tech company in the world." "That's good." I sighed in relief, feeling a wave of exhaustion. "Ethan Miller." She suddenly looked at me seriously. "Let's get married." "Me?" I wondered if I was still dreaming. "You? What did you say?" I said, "Let's get married." She repeated, her gaze firm and unwavering. "I don't want to lose you again. From now on, let me protect you." I looked at her earnest face, and my heart began to pound uncontrollably. Happiness came too suddenly. I was a little overwhelmed. "But I'm just a normal person, and I'm sick. I'm not good enough for you," I said, feeling a surge of inferiority. "In my heart, you're my superhero." She leaned down, pressing a light kiss on my forehead. "I don't need some wine sage. I just need you, Ethan Miller. The living, breathing you, who laughs, cries, fears, and gets nervous." My eyes welled up. It turned out that what I feared and loathed was, in her eyes, the most precious thing. I squeezed her hand back tightly. "Okay." A month later, I was discharged from the hospital. Thanks to Sarah Chin's no-expense-spared care, my body had recovered quite well. The doctor said that as long as I rested well and didn't do anything reckless in the future, living to 99 wouldn't be a problem. My marriage to Sarah Chun was also put on the agenda. There was no grand wedding, no invitation to celebrities from all walks of life. We simply called Alex and Chloe, and on a sunny afternoon, went to the county clerk's office to get our marriage license. Looking at the red certificate in my hand, I still felt a sense of unreality. Ethan Miller, a former corporate drone, now unemployed, actually married a billionaire CEO. This life was more exciting than a roller coaster. Alex was our only groomsman. He cried more emotionally than I did, hugging my leg, snot, and tears everywhere. "Ethan, my idol, you're my life's lighthouse. Alex Stone, am following you for life." Chloe was the bridesmaid. She looked at my sister and me, smiling happier than anyone. After getting married, Sarah Chun made a decision that shocked everyone. She announced her resignation as CEO of Vanguard Innovations, entrusting the company entirely to professional managers. And she herself chose to return to family life. In her words, "Before, I lived for the company. From now on, I only want to live for my husband." This decision caused a huge stir in the business world, but she didn't care. Our married life was simple and happy. She cooked, I did the dishes. She watched financial news, I watched with her. I watched anime and played games, and she would accompany me with interest. We were like any ordinary couple. We'd bicker over small things, and we'd embrace in our sleep at night. I never touched another drop of alcohol. The legend of the wine sage gradually faded from memory. No one knew that the mysterious genius who once dominated the financial markets and traversed the cyber world was now just an ordinary man who prepared breakfast for his wife every day. Sometimes, Sarah Chan would lean into my arms and ask curiously, "What do you think you became when you got drunk?" I'd shake my head. "I don't know, and I don't want to know." That powerful me was perhaps a god, perhaps a demon. But ultimately, he didn't belong to me. I am just Ethan Miller, a plain, ordinary husband who loves Sarah Chun. That's enough. Epilogue. A year later, Sarah Chun and I had a baby boy. He was chubby and adorable. At his full moon celebration, family and friends gathered. My father-in-law, a very imposing retired general, walked over with a glass of wine. "Ethan, it's a happy day today. How can you not drink? Come on, Dad will drink with you." I turned pale with fright, waving my hands. "Dad, I really can't drink. I'm allergic to alcohol. I pass out if I drink." Sarachan quickly came to my rescue. Dad, he's not well. The doctor told him not to drink. But my father-in-law wouldn't back down. Allergic? That's just an excuse. A man has to be able to drink. You must drink this glass today. Looking at my father-in-law's unwavering gaze, I was on the verge of tears. Just as I was trapped, unable to escape, the baby in my arms suddenly cried, "Wah!" As he cried, he flailed his little hands, accidentally knocking over a glass of wine on the table. The red liquid splashed all over him. Then, a miraculous scene unfolded. The baby's crying stopped abruptly. He opened his big, dark eyes, looking curiously at his tiny hands. Then, in a clear, well-articulated voice, he uttered his first words, perfectly logical. Based on molecular dynamic simulations, the ethanol concentration of this liquid is approximately 12.5%. Its volatilization will lead to an increase in ambient air entropy by 0.03 joules per Kelvin. Conclusion: uninteresting. The entire banquet hall instantly fell silent. Sarachan and I exchanged glances, both seeing a flicker of horror in the other's eyes. I looked at the abnormally calm-eyed infant in my arms, then at the expensive bottle of wine on the table. An absurd and terrifying thought arose in my mind. This ability, is it hereditary? And